This morning, I woke up with a nosebleed. While I was watching the dried up blood off my face, the memories from last night's dream started to come flooding back. I'd never dreamt of anything like it, which is probably why it stayed on my mind. The first thing I remember was being in a blank room with a red door. For some reason, I approached the doorknob, then hesitantly twisted it. On the other side, there was a woman tied to a chair. She had a terrified look on her face, and in the distance, there was a man approaching her. Even from the beginning, I could tell something was off. As his figure became more clear, I saw that he wore a fancy outfit that felt familiar, but I couldn't think on it too much, because in his hands was a chainsaw. Once I realized what was happening, I tried to reach out and save her, but I was too late. The moment her decapitated head hit the floor, my body jolted me awake. My chest still felt tight, and I was struggling to catch my breath, as if I had actually experienced that. Even on my way to work, it didn't leave my mind. I tried reading the news to distract myself when I saw an interesting headline. Local college student decapitated in classroom. Out of curiosity, I clicked on the article. Once I saw the image of the woman, my hand clasped over my mouth. She resembled the woman in my dream perfectly. Right after I arrived at work, I saw my boss waiting at the door. He scolded me for being late, yet again. I kept my head down as he yelled at me, but noticed something strange about him. He was wearing the exact same outfit as the man in my dream. After he got done yelling at me, I rushed inside and told my coworker all about my dream. We tended to tell each other everything, but I could tell he was doubting my weird prophetic vision. At first, he tried to reason with me, explaining that I probably started to get my memories mixed up after reading the article. But I was sure that I recalled my dream perfectly before I even checked the news. That night, I had another dream. It started off in the same blank room as before, including the red door. My hand shook as I reached out to twist the doorknob, and on the other side of the door was a woman in a chef's outfit, tied to a dining table. I watched in horror as a man wearing the same outfit as my boss came in, this time wielding a sharp knife. He forced her mouth open, then carved out her tongue. My body wouldn't move, and when my mouth finally opened to scream, I woke up screaming instead. After noticing it was just a dream, I started to calm down. When I touched my face, I felt the familiar, warm, red liquid. That's when I realized I had woken up with another nosebleed. On the way to work, I kept an eye on the news. Yet, I didn't see anything similar to my dream. On one hand, I was relieved that no one had to suffer that fate. On another hand, I knew that this confirmed that I wasn't some sort of psychic. That day, my boss was absent. I found it suspicious and told my coworker all about my new dream. He still didn't seem to believe me, but agreed that something was definitely suspicious about our boss. Our boss was known for his bad temper and tended to be really secretive, so I wouldn't be surprised if he had some sort of dark, twisted side. That night, I stayed up late to catch up on one of my favorite shows. Somehow, I ended up falling asleep, and when I woke up, the news channel was on. Up-and-coming chef found murdered in their own restaurant, along with her tongue missing. A hand clasped over my mouth, and I knew something strange was going on. These couldn't just be coincidences, but I knew if I went to the police station and accused my boss of being a murderer simply because of my dreams, I would become a laughingstock. So, I decided to gather more evidence. My dreams didn't stop becoming true, and I always woke up with nosebleeds, without fail. Although, there seemed to be some sort of strange correlation with the victims and the way their bodies were left. There was a dental assistant who had her teeth pulled out, then an optometrist whose eyes were gouged out, and even a famous artist whose hands were cut off. I kept my coworker updated on all of my visions, and he slowly began to believe me. Then one day, I didn't have a dream. It was the first time in weeks that I woke up without a nosebleed. When I got to work, my coworker was eagerly awaiting for my newest vision. I didn't want to disappoint him, so I just made one up instead. My fake vision involved an office worker getting impaled with 3 deep holes, similarly to a notebook. But the conversation was cut short by our boss. He told me to stay late tonight in order to help organize documents, but I was horrified at the thought of being alone with him. So, my coworker offered to stay instead, which my boss hesitantly accepted. It didn't feel right leaving my coworker alone with my boss, knowing that he might be a murderer. So I hid in the supply closet after my shift ended to keep an eye on them. However, I was so exhausted that I ended up falling asleep. In my dream, I was finally back in the same white room. I eagerly raced towards the red door to see what the next murder would look like. This time, it was my coworker, cornered by my boss in his office. This vision was different, because I realized I might have the power to stop this from happening. When I woke up, I quickly wiped my nosebleed and raced into my coworker's office to see if I could save him in time. But his office was empty. I could feel it getting harder to breathe when the worst case scenarios came to mind. When I approached my boss's office, I finally recognized the door. It was the exact same red door that I'd seen within all my visions. A red liquid was oozing out from underneath the door, and I knew something terrifying had gone down. So I grabbed the doorknob and forced it open, despite my fears. The lights were off, so it was too dark to make out any faces. But from the hallway light, I could see 2 figures. There was one man bleeding out on the floor, with 3 large wounds. Meanwhile, another one was facing the wall, with a knife gripped tightly in his hand. My eyes widened when I realized my fake vision had somehow come true. My boss had actually killed my coworker, and my shaking hand reached out to flip the light switch and finally expose him once and for all. He slowly turned around, but it wasn't my boss. Instead, it was me. When I finally came to, I was holding a knife in my hand, and blood was splattered all over the room. On the floor were the dead bodies of my coworker and my boss. My nose began to bleed as I realized the truth. Those weren't my dreams. They were just me sleepwalking. Thank you for watching. My first ever charm is on sale now in my Etsy shop. I'll put the link in the description, so please check it out. I hope you have a good day and wonderful dreams, obviously. So bye for now, but not forever.